Good morning. Today we'll be talking about how to monitor your infrastructure using Netdata Cloud. So, ideally, Netdata Cloud is divided into two sections. One is agent, one is the cloud environment. So, agent will be used to install on any of your infrastructure that you need to monitor. So, this way, the agent collects all the metrics from your server environment and then sends all the information back to the cloud. So today we'll be seeing how to install the agent onto your server. Whichever server, maybe it could just be production environment, it could just be development environment, could just be some staging for testing purpose. The agent is a very good mechanism to install, and it's an easy one-step process to go through and install all the required components. So we'll be just using automatic one-liner installation script. So this way, it's just going to install all the packages and its dependencies with the latest and greatest version onto your server that you wanted to monitor, and constantly updates, sends out all the metrics from your server into the cloud environment. Okay, so before we go into deep dive, let's just do a quick overview of this pages, right? So I would just go into net learn.netdata.cloud, and then you should be able to see all docs associated with the agent and the cloud, just like I said mentioned before. So agent is basically a script that will be installed onto your server to ensure that all the required packages and dependencies and any other information uh, that it collects will be sent out back to the cloud. And of course, the cloud is where basically a server environment. Here we don't have any server associated with us. It's more about Netdata, uh, uh, Netdata's cloud and infrastructure. So we just basically pump out all the data to the cloud infrastructure for Netdata. Okay. So like I mentioned before, it's an open source agent. It will be helpful for you to use in real time health monitoring and and perform any troubleshooting related to systems and applications. It is very highly flexible and configurable monitoring agent. It's gonna just help you diagnose any slowdowns, anomalies in infrastructure, and it collects hundreds of metrics, in fact thousands, from your machine and pop it out to cloud. And this way, it's gonna help you to understand various type of metrics, and it's gonna help you to create your own dashboards to visualize things. It's gonna help you out with all the health monitoring um, all in one place. So I'm just going to install the agent onto one of our Linux server Ubuntu 18.04 machine that I spun up in the AWS environment. Basically, it's a T2 medium instance type. So this way we can just install the agent onto it, and it has just basically two cores and uh, you know 4 gig of RAM. I don't want to spin up uh, or with high specs. So this way, it's just gonna be an agent with minimal specs, and it has some 20 GB of disk space. So we're just gonna use that machine. We're just gonna use that virtual instance to install the agent and see how the monitoring goes. It's pretty straightforward on installing the agent, like I mentioned before. It would just be um, so it would just be an agent. We're just gonna, of course, you can always go through who Netdata is, demo sites, security design if you wanted to better understand how your data is safe with Netdata. Because, like I mentioned before, all the data which is being sent out from the agent is collected by Netdata cloud environment. It's not our own central cloud instance, uh, which is not spun up in your own environment, right? It's more about Netdata. It's read only how the authentication is protected and how the data is safe and stuff. Basically you can understand all the stuff. And also, uh, for your information, Netdata also collects some anonymous information from all your instances where the agent is installed. It is only used for quality assurance purpose and user statistics, right? To understand what how to improve their metrics and stuff, how to improve or maybe add new features based on the clicks, based on the information that it collects and stuff, right? So it's just gonna uh, pump out that information too for your information. You can always check out the change log and stuff. But again, I think we'll be using this latest version, which is version 1.225.0. All right, so of course you can just read up what data is and stuff, but you can just directly go for installation guide here to understand, like I mentioned, which is going to use the one-line script here. Of course, there are multiple various parameters that you can pass in along with this script. So this way, you install the right parameters accordingly. So this way, it's not going to disrupt your environment. In case, for example, one of the parameter is if you wanted to install um, this agent to uh, update its version every night, or you just wanted to update it with a stable version versus constantly updating every night. So maybe you can just choose those parameters. But by default, uh, you know it supports out of the box bunch of operating systems with up to the latest versions. Like I mentioned before, it supports Ubuntu, Red Hat, of course, any Docker containers. It can be installed in a Kubernetes cluster, and of course, I am using this right now. Install Netdata on cloud providers, AWS infrastructure. So I'm just installing on that part. You can also install on Mac OS, and of course, all the other offline air gap systems too, if you wanted to. This is a pfSense router probably. Synologies could just be it's basically a NAS drive something. Um, of course, anything, most of the methods we can use to install on various and unique operating systems. This agent. So right now, I'm just going to use the quick start package like I mentioned before. If you were to scroll down, you can just install using this automatic updates and stuff. Or maybe you just do not want to update it all, don't want to update the agent at all. So you can just use this parameter dash dash no update. So this it's gonna not update at any point in time, but you'll need to update the agent version manually. Keep in mind, of course, you can see a bunch of stuff here. But let's just go and pick back, copy this script first. Right, let's just copy this guy. Make sure you go back to your instance that you wanted to install on. So I'm just I spun up instance like I mentioned before. Just gonna first uh, update the packages, right? So this way, uh, my Ubuntu system is to the latest and greatest with all the packages that are out there based on the repository. And then let's just upgrade anything that needs to be upgraded. So we see that there are a few packages that we kept back, but most of the packages out there will be upgraded. So we're just going to use Fly to make sure that all the packages were updated to the latest version. Um, it's just going to unpack all the packages, ensure that um, the new version is installed from the old version. Okay, just bear with me a moment here. All right, so it looks like um, the package were upgraded. So it's gonna copy that guy and paste the quick start, just like I mentioned. So, so if you see here, right, basically it looked out for the information with respect to what operating system that I'll need to install this agent on. Based on that, it's just gonna pull various packages and stuff, uh, and of course, it's gonna check the package history and the basic stuff. So it's gonna check whether there are any packages that are already installed that are needed that are acting as a dependency for the Netdata agent. So it's just gonna update all this, install all these packages. Uh, it's running. So this way, it's just gonna update and then install all the packages. So if you see here, the following additional packages will be installed. These are all the additional packages that are installed by the Netdata agent, and there are suggested packages that will be installed, and of course the new packages that will be installed for the Netdata agent. Okay, so totally 70 new packages installed. Three will not be upgraded. Okay, so let's just for this operation, it's just gonna use some additional disk space. Okay, so it's just gonna fetch all the packages. It's just gonna install all the packages. Make sure all the packages were upgraded with the latest version. So it's just gonna take a bit to download all the packages that are acting as a dependency for Netdata agent. So please keep in mind there should be some disk space that is needed. Okay. Alright. So as we are seeing here, so it did set up all the packages. It tells me that all done. Now proceed to next step and stuff. Okay. It's just checking that you have access to some of the APIs and stuff to update the agent nightly, because I did not specify any parameter, which means that by default it's just going to utilize nightly upgrades and stuff. It's checking whether it has access to um, um, yeah, basically it's just downloaded some SHA-256 some text. It's comparing the script that it downloaded matches the hash with a cloud hash. But again, just trying to um, see here, right? So if we were to see here, um, installing Netdata dot forward slash Netdata and the current path Netdata installer script auto update. It's installing because it's specified as we did not specify parameters, which means that it's just not update nightly. So you're about to build and install Netdata to your system. It's going to take some of the files. It's just going to install at these locations on your Linux machine, right? And then you can just press enter. This way it's just gonna install that onto your server. Um, Meanwhile, while that's happening, you can always go through the documentation clearly to understand more on the packages, more on the various operating system that we can install that data agent on. Of course, we'll be going into the I signed up for in the meanwhile. I signed up for netdata.cloud. Just go to netdata.cloud and then sign up for your environment. So this way you have access to this environment. You basically use your email ID, or you can just um, you know sign in with Google or GitHub, or use your email. Let's go back to the system. Make sure it's okay. It's still installing. Just gonna keep it. Make sure. So so what exactly it's gonna install? It's just gonna install all the default plugins that it needs to monitor from your machine. Basically, Netdata calls them as internal plugins by default. It's just going to monitor all those applications, all those system processes, all those internal metrics by default available on your machine. Should be able to be monitored by this agent. Um, just give me a minute to ensure that it downloads all the packages. Make sure it's gonna okay. Looks like the data is installed and running now. Enjoy real-time performance and health monitoring. So we are good with that part. Now that the net data installed, that means that it has capability to monitor all the metrics uh, uh, after installing this agent, because the agent was already installed. Right now that it's monitoring all the metrics and stuff. That's good. But how do we ensure that these metrics that we capture are being sent out to the cloud? So this is the agent that we install on this machine, Ubuntu server, but we need to make sure that the metrics that are being collected, correlated, captured by the Netdata agent are being forwarded back to the cloud, right? So right now, um, I have this uh, environment. So right now, I just basically created um, development space. And you can always create multiple war rooms here based on your need and stuff. Right now, I just created a war room named as cloud management. You can always segregate, like if there are 1,000 nodes, right? Maybe you wanted to add 500 nodes to general space, and then you wanted to add 500 nodes to cloud management. So just trying to differentiate these servers based on the namespace. That is all here it is. A node is nothing but a machine, a server where you can install the machines on. So right now, so we're just gonna uh, how do you need to ensure that you're just gonna install this this node back to the Netdata cloud? So basically, you just need to click on add node, make sure you copy this guy, right, and then so basically adding that node to this room. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back to the instance. So I'm just gonna copy here. So what it basically says is you're basically claiming this node and associating this node back to the Netdata cloud. Okay, so it's just gonna has its own token. So just associating that specific node to that specific room, which is basically cloud management. So once you run that stuff, right, it tells me that it basically generated private and public key pair for the first time, and stuff. It's just gonna use some two primes and stuff. Okay, so let's go back here to ensure that so this node was claimed successfully, which means that this node is, if you see here, right, you see there is a second node associated with this netdata.cloud space. The cloud space, if you had to just make sure you refresh your page if you wanted to, it's not needed. But however, you had seen that this new server was already added back to the netdata. Okay, now let's just go and just explore real quick to see what are all the metrics that we can capture by the data agent onto this by the agent, and which are being forwarded back to the cloud. Okay, if you see here, right, you see the system overview. Basically, it tells me discrete, disk write, CPU utilized, and of course, network inbound, network outbound, news run and stuff, right? So basically, it's just going to capture the whole call system overview. But if you see here, you see system, load, disk, RAM, network processes, idle jitter, interrupts, softix, softnet, entropy, uptime. Each thing can be is defined here. If you wanted, you can just read up there. But ideally, overall, if you see here, right, you capture all the overall metrics that are really needed for you to monitor all the application. So So again, if you can refresh if you wanted to, in the meanwhile, you can see here in the last 1 hour, these are all the metrics captured. Of course, the agent is installed at this point in time. So if you see here at 9:34, so it's just gonna see all the metrics, uh, collect all the metrics associated, uh, and should be able to give you most of the stuff. Okay, so total CPU utilization, CPU pressure, load, how much time, the number of processes utilizing CPU, or basically the number of processes that are waiting for the resources from CPU and disk, right? You can see all the metrics associated that are needed for you to successfully diagnose your instance, successfully diagnose and ensure that all the metrics are captured at any point in time uh, by this agent to the cloud, and then you can install this agent onto hundreds of machines. Now, it's just a matter of open source space, right? So you just need to be very mindful. Sometimes Netdata is just gonna go and market as enterprise version or business version, and then charge you some fees. But as of today, it's free. You can install hundreds of machines to this rooms to the workspace. So this way you can capture all the metrics like CPU, RAM, network. I felt the UI on the cloud UI for Netdata.cloud is a little bit buggy, but keep in mind this is open source. So much we can get. There are thousands of developers that are working on this project to ensure that this application is just working as expected. Ensure that uh, new bugs that were found out to be fixed, or new features that needs to be uh, installed, the new features to be released are pushed out to this application uh, and monitored accordingly. Right, you see all the stuff with respect to the network. Uh, so let's see here as a real-time example. Let me just go back. Here, GPU. Okay, it tells me the CPU utilization interrupts. It's taking a bit of time to load this, but keep in mind it will be loaded at any point in time. You can always refresh the page. So, and of course, you can see all the metrics: CPUs by CPU, by memory, by disks, by networking stack, right? If it's an IPv4 for networking, you're just using some IPv4 for networking, then you can just check out these guys. Uh, you can just make sure you refresh it. You can always check out by interface and stuff. There any interfaces available. Um, you can always check by applications. And one of the key feature that we are using uh, in that data agent, because it helps us to understand, differentiate the CPU utilization by application. If you see here, kernel, system, containers, applications, metadata, basically it's telling me average CPU utilization, disk utilization by applications. If you see here, SCSI, Python, D, cron, different various processes that are running on this machine are being uh, are being captured by this agent, right? And always check this fast swap space. Swap space is nothing but whenever there's memory utilization is high, or it's 100%, it's just going to utilize the swap space, which is basically disk space available on the machine to act as a memory. That's not an efficient way, but still, it's you know it will be this space will be used to process all the tasks that are being run by this machine. Okay, you can check out the users, right? You can check out the users by user root. Metadata by default is just going to create a read-only user named Netdata to capture all the metrics and stuff, and of course swap space. And by default, the good thing about this is Netdata itself has bunch of like I mentioned before, there are a bunch of plugins that will be installed to monitor on this machine. So that's just going to collect all the metrics associated with the net data itself, with database engine queries, web, disk space, that net data process task is being utilizing and stuff, right? Overall it's a great functionality and mechanism. It's a great methodology to monitor all your server stack in your infrastructure that you have got. Uh, and this agent can be installed and it's very secure. You can you can basically install the agent via just to basically at the high level install the agent and ensure to claim this node or instance, whatever you call it as, and then associate it with the cloud environment. So this way you can monitor all the instances, all the nodes that you need to monitor in your infrastructure. Um, um, right. So I just added two nodes, but you can install this agent, claim this, install the agent and claim these nodes and ensure that all these nodes are displayed here so we can just monitor. And the good thing about this is you can always create your new war rooms and stuff, to group your nodes by service, by purpose or by location or something. And of course, you can always create new workspaces and stuff, right? And yeah, overall, it's a great feature uh, application that can be used to monitor all the metrics. Okay, and of course, the cool thing is this has dark mode. But again, you know, let's just keep to the purpose here, and then it's good that there is an agent out there where it's just going to connect back to the cloud, and you can monitor all the different various metrics, right, onto your in the cloud, all in one place, and you can basically ensure once you monitor all this stuff, you know that okay, I need to add new resource, I need to add memory, I need to add disk space, whatever it is, right? So it's a very good functionality, very good mechanism to uh, monitor uh, all the information, uh, and it will be really used for health monitoring, and you know that which application is consuming high disk space, which application is consuming CPU and the memory, right? Um, and you can see uh, number of disks and which disk is how much is disk space for each disk associated with the server. There could just be one or more disks attached to your instance and stuff, right? You can do a bunch of stuff. You can see all the information that is needed for you to make sure you monitor this instance right, and make sure you have make sure you have all the applications monitored at any point in time. With that said, mm, which is a great tool, I explored this morning a little bit, but you can always explore in depth by yourself. It's just out. I'm just trying to uh, get started, but again, um, uh, from my observation, I had seen a bunch of information uh, that we can monitor right out of the box with this application, with this agent installed and connected back to the cloud. And that's it. Peace. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please have a good rest of your day. You take care. Peace. Bye now.